Hello, here's Stefan Laub again and Q-Geotexture. With Q-Geotexture I show you here another way to use it, that is as a scatter tool onto other surfaces. I show you here the case when I use render instances, not the deformer, but render instances. It also supports multi-instances, of course. And as it's multi-threaded, it's very fast and it has some features that not every scatter tool normally has. And one important for me is the mixing, the mapping over all render instances. That's something I missed a lot in all the other available tools for a long time. One thing, for example, is like when you have a wood with many trees, to map slight color variations like an Indian summer or something over all the trees, or like a grass field where you have the slight color variations, not only in the single blades or patches, but really across a bigger surface. So you can do that, of course, in Q-Geotexture with the remapping tool, which I showed before. In that case, I have a tree. So it's a simple tree here. 3D tree, quite complex, but that doesn't matter. It scatters that on landscape object. In that case, I have it very simple for now. I'll show you another scene where it's more randomly then. And here I want to have only the last part scattered. This is a texture that mixes over the others, and I have here remap UV by clone position on, so I can have this mapping over all the surface, over all the render instances, and I have on remap last text. This means it only takes the last texture map. That can be useful, for example, you have a tree that has already leaves and stuff and other things mapped, but you only want to have the last thing mapped over everything to mix, like color mix here. So to make it short, I use here, in this case, it's V-Ray, and we will just gonna render it. That was from another earlier video. Okay, and what we will hopefully see now is the classic UV map gradient over all the trees. So this works very simple. The trees are quite heavy, so they take a bit to render. And you see the mapping over all the leaves, all the stuff is this classic UV map I used as input. Before I made a mapping for this here, a UV map that maps the tree from camera view or from above actually, or you can use a cylinder or cubic mapping or whatever, just click on it, right click and say generate, and you have a UV map out of it. It's pretty simple, and then you can do things like that. I stop this now and we will see. Maybe let's try here a similar scene. Here you see it more randomly. What I did here, we just used the random input variations, so to have this scattered randomly on the surface. Let's render it fast. And you see it works also despite the objects are offsetted randomly, so they're not in a mapping grid, but they're just randomly on the surface in the mapping space. It still works. You see on the leaves I have that, the trunks and everything are not mapped intentionally. So I can precisely control which part of the object is affected by this stuff, and of course I can use the usual mix values in that case. So in that case I put it that this affects the leaves, but not this group here with the bark which has its own mappings or materials. Okay, and as last I show you the same scene with some kind of Indian summer coloring. That's how I often use it. In that case I have here a colorful image that I want to paint or map over all the trees to get this Indian summer effect. I put that with a mix value, so I only blend it over the green leaves, that it's not too intense. I just want to have a little bit of that effect. And the bark and so is like an example, of course, before unaffected of that. And let's render it. So here comes the frame buffer. And here you see the effect. I have green leaves, a gray bark, but the effect mapped over all the trees together. Yeah. Of course, you can have a lot more trees. That's just a simple example. It works like any other scatter tool with render instances or multi-instances if you have a new Cinema 4D. And this effect is very nice to map the things and give you further variation to your models. I hope you like this remapping tool and what I show you from Geotexture. And I wish you a nice evening and thank you.